Hello my friends, today we're going to be making some dill pickles and some dill pickle chips, and this is our bouquet dill that we planted back in the spring that has bloomed out, and it smells so good. And we're going to be harvesting some of these blooms and be putting them into our pickles. It's a very simple pickle recipe, and I'll be putting it together. But while I've got you here, the radishes that I told you that I was saving the seeds on, look at these little pea pods that they have, and that's where the seed is. And when these dry out, I'll harvest them, and we'll have French breakfast radish seeds to plant next spring. Over here this morning, I got up my carrots, and I was pretty satisfied with it. But sometimes they do good here, and sometimes they don't. But today we're going to be making some dill pickles. Beautiful. Look at the little butterflies. They love this dill. But thank you for joining me, and we'll get this recipe going. Okay, welcome to our canning kitchen here in the basement of our home. And I'm demonstrating today how to make dill pickle chips. We're using some large cucumbers, too large to really make spears out of, but they're still sweet and tender. And this recipe was my wife's grandmother. She was born in 1898 in the mountains of the Blue Ridge, and she had raised a large family, looked after her farm, and she wanted a quick way to make pickles on the run if it's just a couple of jars at a time. And I've tried several pickle recipes. By far this is the best, and I wanted to share it with you. But we're starting off here with some cucumbers, and whether you grow them yourself or you buy them at the produce market or grocery store, when you bring them home, put them in a container, cover them with water, and put them in your refrigerator at least overnight. Get them nice and cool, and it helps hydrate the cucumbers. But we're going to slice these up, and as you can see, I've already went and got some dill, and it smells so good. And we're going to be making dill chips. So we'll just slice these up, and then we'll you can slice them as thick or thin as you want. And we'll put these in a jar. And they're real pretty pickles. They're easy to make, and these are real sweet cucumbers. Sometimes the ones you get at the store have a bitter taste. These do not. And even the bigger ones are tender and sweet. And cucumbers are not hard to grow. And I encourage you to try growing you some next season or this season. It's still not too late. I've just planted some cucumbers right behind the window here. And if your cucumbers don't look the best like these do, they taste great, but the look of them are not the best. Chips are a good way to utilize them. They make really good dill chips, and it's good, these chips, when you're having burgers, or if you're making some potato salad and you want to chop up some of these and make like a relish to put in your potato salad or your deviled eggs. It's just, they taste so good. And I will chop these up, and then the next step will be putting them in the jar. And that's what I like about making these pickles. They're so easy to make. And we'll go through here and get these chopped up, and I won't keep you on the video for this part. But I'll pause it, and then the next time you come back, we'll be assembling in the jar, and I'll show you how to finish these pickles off. It's quick and easy and so efficient, and there's no processing required. And some people, when they make pickles, over-process. And this recipe, the pickling solution, is boiling hot when you pour it over your pickles, and the can is sterilized, and it's ready to go, and it'll seal. The contents is hot enough for it to seal. And sometimes you can over process pickle, especially a pickled cucumber, and it makes them soft. So this is a good way of doing it. It's food safe. I've ate these for years. They keep so well. But join me here in just a few minutes and we'll be putting them in the jar. Okay, we're here at our grapevine at our homestead, and this grapevine was here when we moved here. And after seeing my cucumbers, I decided to make 1 quart of grape leaf pickles. And this will help you to see how simple this pickle recipe works, and it's very versatile. Our grapes have not gotten ripe yet, so I'll pick 2 leaves to use in that quart of pickles. Try to pick your prettiest leaf. It's been a very hot summer here, and I should have picked these this morning, but I just need a couple of these grape leaves to stick down in the jar, and I may go ahead and get 3. Let's see, I'll put that one in the bottom. There we go. We'll head back to the kitchen now and get started. Okay, we're back. We've got our cucumbers all cut up. I've got my ingredients together. Got my jar sterilized, my lids are sterilized. But when I was cutting these cucumbers up, I realized I had about 5 cucumbers I could put in a wide mouth jar and make some grape leaf pickles. So we'll start with that one before we do the chips. I have my sterilized jar, and I went out, as you've seen in the video, and picked some fresh grape leaves. And the way I like to present them in the jars, I like to go ahead and put the grape leaves in with a pretty side facing out. And as you can see in the jar, it looks really nice. And I'm actually going to put 2 grape leaves in and put 1 over the top. It just gives it a little extra flavor. Some people cut the stem of the grape leaf off. But as you can see, I've got them on the outside of the glass. And this recipe works for dill pickles or grape leaf pickles, whether they're chips, spears, or whole pickles. So we'll go ahead and get this jar packed. And we have some good sized cucumbers for this purpose. And these are not the most beautiful cucumbers of the garden this year, but it's okay, and that might be about all I can get in there. It's kind of tricky to fish everything around, but as you can see, there's a few in there, and that's when you do whole cucumbers, you can't sometimes get many in the jar. I've got 5 large ones in there. I really can't get any more, so that's okay. But we're going to set this to the side. That's going to be our flavoring, is those beautiful grape leaf pickles that's in there. And I'll see if I can get more in here, but it's kind of hard to do sometimes. I may just let that one go. The cucumbers are kind of hard to arrange, as you all know who's worked with them. So I'm going to take the one that was left here and put it in with my dill chips. And see, that's the good thing about this recipe of Grandma Lou's pickles. You can do so many different things with them. Okay, now we're going to take our sterilized jars and go ahead and prepare the dill chips, in which I have some bouquets of dill that I'll cut. They smell wonderful. And I like to put those in, and I'm going to put 2. We like a lot of dill. And I try to lay them down in the bottom there or on the side. I don't know if you can see that. And then I'll start putting my chips in. And sometimes it goes to the bottom. It's kind of tricky to get them all in. But it's just a super recipe, easy, quick, efficient, and it tastes so good. And especially in the winter time, you have a little taste of summer. Where we live, winter comes fairly quick. Fall sometimes turns off real cold, but I'll tell you, when the snow's flying or when you're having Thanksgiving dinner, it's so nice to come down to your can shelf and get a jar of these pickles to put on the table. And we'll fill these up. And I went ahead and sterilized 3 regular size jars, that's okay. I don't know if we'll need, yeah, we're probably gonna need them. May even have some cucumbers left, but these cucumbers, like I say, wasn't the most beautiful ones that we'll have, but I'm thankful for them. It's kind of hard to get everything in sometimes, and just be patient. I have dumped the jar back out and started over, so no problem. But I'll tell you, with crisp, to get crisp pickles, some people use alum. I have found over the years that soaking them in a pan or large bowl of cold water in your refrigerator overnight keeps them crispy. And I'm going to call that one pretty well done. Beautiful in the jar. I'm going to go ahead and keep filling these. I'll put that dill head in and put another one in there. And sometimes it's hard to get the presentation just exactly like you want it, but that's the point of these videos. This is not science. Some people try to make it into something more complicated than it should be, and the purpose of my videos is, even if you don't make the pickles or make the recipes, that you can relax to them and just get your mind on something else. And I know how stressful life can be, believe you me, and I appreciate you joining me. But we'll go ahead and after I cut these pickles up, while I was getting everything prepared, I put them back in the refrigerator. They need to stay cool till you get ready to can them. So we'll just keep packing them in there. Sometimes you can get them all in, but I always like to sterilize more jars than I need. And if I sterilize more, and if I come back tomorrow to do some more canning, I still re-sterilize them. They're fresh sterilized all the time. You need to be really careful because these pickles are not processed afterwards. But I always start off with a sterilized jar and lid. And we'll go ahead and use these last two dill heads. And if we don't fill this one all the way up, when we pickle it, I'll go ahead and put it in the refrigerator, and we'll break into this one before winter time. But I want you to try this recipe. It's real easy. No processing required. No pressure cooker required. It's just a beautiful pickle, and it tastes so good. And I've tried different recipes over the years. I've tried different ways and different methods, but Grandma Lou's, my wife's grandmother, she had it down pat. She sure did. All of her recipes are delicious. And these are Blue Ridge Mountain, Appalachian Mountain recipes. My wife's family's from here. I'm from the foothills of North Carolina, right at the foot of the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's where I grew up. So where we grew up, it's not a lot, and you have to prepare for the winter, and that's the purpose of these videos. It's surprisingly, on a small plot of land, how much food you can grow. And with this troubling times that we have now, it's always good to have some extra, because you never know. You never know what the supply and demand's going to be. And there you have it. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks beautiful in the jar. And I've got a few tidbits here left. I think I can get them in these other two jars. But very easy recipe. I was excited. I was going to make grape leaf pickles in a couple of weeks, so I decided to go ahead and make 1 quart just to show you. Okay, now we're going to take this grape leaf pickle, and I've got 1 grape leaf left, small one, and I'm going to wad it up right here on the top. And here's how this recipe goes. It's so simple. You take 1 tablespoon, and I use a heaping tablespoon of kosher salt. Table salt will not work. It must be kosher salt or canning salt. and you pour it right in the jar. Same with the dill pickles. 1 tablespoon, pour it right in the jar. And we'll go ahead so we don't leave nobody out. 1 tablespoon of salt in each quart jar. These are quarts. And if you're watching in another country, we have pint jars and quart jars, half a gallons and gallon jars. But in America, traditionally, we use pints and quart jars. But later this summer, as the summer wanes on, I'll be using some bigger jars for some pickled corn. Okay, so we've got that. 1 tablespoon of salt per quart. Then you take 5% apple cider vinegar. And at the start of the season, we go ahead and buy several gallons so we'll have it, because where we live sometimes it's hard to find, especially since this virus, it's been very hard to find certain things. I'm surprised some countries seemingly their store shelves are stocked, but here where we live is very rural. There's a lot of people moving here, but it's hard to find. Now here, you add to each jar 1/2 cup, just pour it right in the jar, of apple cider vinegar. You do each jar 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. You've already put your salt in. Oh, it already smells good. Of course, I love vinegar. And where I'm from, North Carolina, vinegar is a staple. We put it on everything. It's good for you too. So 1/2 cup per quart, and this is Grandma Lou's pickle recipe. Okay. Now you look at these jars and you say, well, that's not enough liquid. And here's the efficiency part of it. Each quart gets a tablespoon of salt, a 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. Then you finish it off with cold water, and you finish filling your jars till it gets about a 1/2 inch from the top. I'm going to give this about a tablespoon more, okay? You'll go to each jar, top it off with the water. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, well, how is this going to work? He's not even processed it yet. And here's the fast and efficient part. Okay. Now, we've got all of them ready to go. And over on the stove, I have a small saucepan. And I'm going to turn the camera, and I promise you, our cameras are going to get better over time. See if I can get where you can see me and see the pot too. I'll bend down, but it's not necessary to see my face. So what you do, you take each quart that you have, and I use my fingers, and you pour that solution out of the jar. Okay, and then you turn it on, turn your stove on, and you get this to a rapid boil. You get this to a rapid boil, then you pour it back in the jar. You never overfill it. The solution, the pickling solution, is always right. But while this is heating up and getting ready to go, I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll show you how to finish these off. Okay, we're back. I've got this to a rolling boil. Here's our grape leaf. And the liquid contents of the jar is poured back into the jar. You never overfill it. It's always just right. Then while it's hot, you need to put your lid on immediately. So always wipe the top of your jar off. That's why can lids fail. It gets salt up on top. You put your hot lid on. Immediately I could feel it stick. If you don't feel your can lid's kind of sticky, that seal underneath is something wrong. Then you'll put on your lid and you set it to the side and you go and do your next one. We take the pot. We'll go to our dill chips now. We'll pour this in. And that vinegar smells so good. We'll pour that in. The contents of our liquid contents of our dill chips, and we'll put that back on the burner. And then we'll continue doing these till we finish them. And go ahead and screw your can lids on tight. And these pickles have done turned a beautiful green. And this would be our grape leaf. And the salt will dissolve into the solution and they'll be delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these 3 jars off. You saw how we do it. Each jar you boil the contents and get them to a rolling boil, pour them back in the jar one at a time. And that's it. And then you put your lid and ring on immediately, tighten it down, and wait for it to seal, and it will seal because the contents is hot enough to seal. And we'll show you what they look like when we finish up. Okay, we finished these jars off now. I wanted you to see them with a dill in it. Beautiful. These will be good on burgers or good in to chop up, to put in potato salad. Here's our grape leaf pickle. And this is called Grandma Lou's pickle recipe. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Encourage you to try it. If you like my video, please give us a like and subscribe to the Suburban Appalachia channel. In the upcoming weeks, we're going to have some more of a craft-oriented video. This feature my wife sewing, and she makes quilts and does doll making. So we're doing this together, and it's just been a joy. Me and my wife do everything together. We love being together, and we enjoy our blessings that God gives us. And I hope you all have a blessed day. Subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you again very soon. And try this recipe.